Good afternoon once again. The additional delay, we have added a speaker for the outside, and so that the people who are in line outside will be able to at least hear part of our program today. My name is David Leonard. I am the president of the Boston Public Library, and it is my privilege to be here today with this community to welcome you all back to the Oak Square branch, the Faneuil Branch at Oak Square in Brighton. Let me start with a question. Are you ready to reopen? So welcome back. Thank you for coming. Welcome to your library. And I think it's fair to say this is one of the most anticipated reopenings of our branch renovations that we've seen. It has certainly been a long time coming, and we never thought it would take 3 years, but here we are. We are reopening today, and I hope as you get to explore the space, you'll appreciate all the elements that have been both preserved and added. As of today, maybe we should have made it even bigger, as apparently judging by the line outside. But not only does this remarkable transformation maintain the core of this beautiful Art Deco jewel building, but it also does something more important. It increases access so that everyone can take advantage of this beautiful space. This is, in our system, the little library that could. Small but mighty, loved by its community, and we know that it survived many challenges, even to its own very existence. And there are many people here today who will share thoughts on that point, and to whom credit is due for its survival. But now, not only will it survive, but it will thrive as part of this community once again. And no one is more focused on ensuring that Boston is a place where everyone can live their fullest possible life, a place to make and keep your home, and a place to raise a family, and families that come in many shapes and sizes. None of our capital projects move forward without the continued commitment of our mayor. Mayor Wu has focused her entire administration on making Boston accessible to all, for people whose main language is one other than English, to people with disabilities, from people struggling with housing instability, to those struggling with substance abuse and other issues, and this library can be the response to those challenges. This is also a mayor that I have come to know understands the importance of libraries, the importance of intergenerational gathering spaces, places to learn, academic learning, but also social, emotional, and civic learning. Please welcome to the podium the person who leads our city and makes these commitments real across that city, our Mayor, Michelle Wu.
Hello. It's nice to see everyone. Thank you so much to David Leonard. Thank you, David, for all of your leadership. It is no accident that I think in the years that David has been at the helm, we have cut so many ribbons and brought back to life so many beloved jewels and treasures of our community, and we're not done yet. And this library here now sets an even higher standard for every other major project around the city. And I want to thank all of the city staff members who are involved, and you'll hear from them shortly, between Carrie and the public facilities team and everyone at BPL and all of those who helped shape this. But more importantly, as you'll hear alluded to, I'm sure, over and over again today, to even be here at a point where we are expanding, reopening, and representing this library at home is a reminder that every voice matters in our community. Every time you might feel a little bit discouraged about whether going to vote matters, or showing up and holding a sign, or being present at a public rally, think about the difference that this was this close to happening with this library. We took a different path thanks to a lot of folks in this room. And we will get to not only see a little bit of that. We pulled together a special treat for you all in a little bit that reminds us of what it took to get here, but also of the special technological features. A screen is going to come down in a little bit, and so we'll get to see that. But before I get there, I want to recognize my colleagues in elected office who are here and who have been just relentless and staunchly supporting this effort and so many of the ways that our communities need continued investment. We have City Councilor Liz Braden. State Representative Kevin Honan. Majority Leader Mike Moran. And I know Senator Will Brownsberger is either here or on the way, and we're so grateful for his leadership as well. Thank you to our city teams. We have Chief of Operations Dion Irish and his team. Councilor Aaron Murphy in the second row. City Councilor at Large Aaron Murphy. And our Chief of Community Engagement, Brianna Malore. Chief of Arts and Culture, Cara Elliott Ortega. Chief of Human Services, Jose Masso. Okay, I think I got most of our cabinet here. If you work for the Boston Public Library team, give a wave so we can thank you. If you are on the Boston Public Library Board of Trustees, give a wave so we can thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and to all of our trustees. If you are part of the Friends of the Faneuil Library, give a wave. Thank you, Annie and everyone. And especially to the incredible staff at this branch, Amy, Ann, Eleanor, Jenny, Mimosa, and Quinn. We wouldn't be here without you. This community knows that Boston Public Libraries are more than a place for books. They're more even than just a place for the people who are reading them. This library is and always has been a space for all of Boston's people to come together, to seek and find not just knowledge, but community. Which is why when multiple branches of the BPL were on the verge of closing 14 years ago, this community pulled together to make sure that history would take another turn. So let's take a look at the video.
This is not about money. It has absolutely nothing to do with money. This is about priorities.
I am pissed off. And I know our elected officials are going to help us. That library means so much more to every one of us here. We do have some control in terms of, I want them to reject this.
And as a Boston Public Schools teacher, my children are reaping the benefit of what I can get at that library. And I'm getting emotional because I love it so much.
This neighborhood's going to go down fighting if we lose it. We're not going to lose it.
I know it looks like an uphill battle. We're going to keep this fight up, and I hope, it may be a Hail Mary pass, but I'm hoping that we can get this done.
This community got it done. And it is so clear, so deeply felt, what these spaces mean to our families, generation after generation. So I want to acknowledge all those from Rep. Moran to all of the community activists. Everyone showed up, and thank you to this neighborhood for making sure this was a clear priority for the city. Now, the work didn't end with just keeping the doors open and saving the library itself. There was a lot more that was needed here, and you all made sure that we didn't just stop there, it had to keep going. I'm proud to say that the newly renovated building includes both a fully accessible entrance and fully accessible bathrooms, finally. And also, in some ways, most special and most stunning in this space is the beautiful new children's room, JJ's room. The mural, which is impossible not to just draw you into it, is a custom mural by Brighton artist Curtis Williams, who goes by Curtistic. And the mural is just so gorgeous and so powerful, and also incorporates the work, the art from young people right here in the neighborhood, including the work by the late J. Ram Rodriguez Rao, who the room is named after, and one of the paintings, or one of the drawings floating in space in the mural is taken from his artwork that Curtis made sure would stay forever there as memory. J. Ram was just 8 years old when he joined his neighbors and family in demonstrating to keep this library open. That day, we're told, lit a fire in him that continued to make sure that he impacted this community, never hesitating to stand up for the people he loved and the causes he believed in. He was curious, adventurous, and endlessly passionate, a self-taught musician, woodworker, rock climber, and environmentalist. His energy was intense and infectious. And in 2019, I had the privilege of experiencing that myself in hearing J. Ram testify so passionately and powerfully before the Boston City Council, calling for the city to reduce carbon emissions in newly constructed buildings, something that we are now doing for new and renovated city buildings. So thank you to J. Ram, to Maria, Ram, for everyone, for the incredible gift that continues to have an impact here in Boston. And thank you to Curtistic for capturing the essence of this neighborhood and immortalizing J. Ram and the talent of our young people in the room that is for them and belongs to them. So I just want to share one last story about the ways that this space is going to have an impact for generations to come by going back a couple generations. I want to tell you about Tom and Marianne McLaughlin, who are also here in this room. Tom and Mary have a long history with the Boston Public Library. They met, I'm told, while working on staff at the Central Library over in Copley, and they hit it off. Tom would sometimes sneak in donuts from the coffee shop around the corner to bring to Mary while she worked, even though there was a no food policy in the library. And though he has promised he's not going to bring sneak food into this space. And Mary would watch Tom play stickball just behind the building. A few years later, they got married and had 6 kids. Today, they still live right here in Oak Square and will be celebrating 60 years of marriage this June. All 6 of those kids spent countless hours right here at the Faneuil Branch in Oak Square, making new connections to the city and the world in the pages of books and in the space and the people around them. Our libraries are magical places where our own stories are written and where they live on to inspire all those who come after. So I am so thankful to be celebrating this reopening with all of you and for the gift that you have passed on to our generation and for generations to come with your advocacy and your determination to build the best future for Boston. I'll pass it back to David Leonard. Thank you.
Mayor Wu, thank you for your continued support and partnership. We, of course, have 2 authorities that we are responsible to keep us on track as a library and to ensure that we live up to the promise of our mission, free to all. Not just are we part of the mayor's Organization and the Human Services Cabinet led by Chief Jose Masso, but we are also responsible to our own Board of Trustees, individuals who give selflessly of their own time to ensure that this library can be all that it is supposed to be. Our next speaker leads the Board of Trustees of the Boston Public Library with extraordinary enthusiasm and focus on community and activation. Joining her today from among our 15-member board are Jim Canales, John Heiler, Joe Berman, Christian Restra, and Jose Masso. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Priscilla Douglas, the chair of the board.
Thank you so much. This is so exciting. I am absolutely delighted to be here, and I want to ask the trustees to join me so you can see who they are and the selfless work. Please come up. Joe, Jim, John, Jose, and Christian. We're really grateful to join all of you to be with you today, and especially our great and good and compassionate Mayor Wu. She cares so much about us and our ability to belong and to have places and spaces that are welcoming, and ensures that this trustees are as engaged and committed as she is. But we also are pleased to be here with this Oak Square community. I have friends who live up the street, and I'm often in this neighborhood. So to see this transformation is just so heartwarming. And what made it possible is you. You imagined this place. You contributed, and all of us listened. And at the core of this library is the fantastic Art Deco, which is one of my favorite. And I see our architect here, and one of the things he did is the original clock is here, preserved, at the Art Deco clock. And that's what makes this building absolutely unique. I mean, don't you think it's beautiful? The children's room, the teen room are all very, very special. And as you've heard, the accessibility, which you wanted, and access that you wanted to see in this neighborhood is here. Everyone belongs here. There's so many components of this architecture that will ensure that all people, whatever their level of ability, can fully use this library, however they need it. And that's thrilling. The motto, which you see right outside, free to all, and when we say free to all, we really mean it. All means the teens, and I walked through their special area, the special area for the teens with manga and all of the great literature that's there. All means people who have difficulty hearing, who can take advantage of this branch's new technology, and all means a universal entrance. A universal entrance. And just think of that, what that means to people when we say, you're welcome, and they can come in on their own. I'm happy about this. We, like you, are longtime lovers of libraries, and we believe that libraries must be welcoming spaces in order to encourage people to take advantage of all that we have to offer. Libraries give people the power to rise up, to dream, to achieve, to make their lives better. You know, there's that Dr. Seuss book, which I love, Oh, the places you will go. All the things that you could imagine beyond that. It's not just a kid's book. When you enter the library, you enter a space, a safe place where you truly, truly belong. And I just want to say, you remind everyone of how Oak Square got to this important day. As you saw from the film, you organized, you participated, you made your voices heard. And we're lucky that we have a mayor and elected officials who listen to you. But it's because you spoke up. And that's why we're urging all of you to get involved, like we do as trustees. Join a committee, host a program, and remember, the stronger this library is, the stronger your community is. It is a place to come together where you belong, where you can imagine, where you can transform not only your lives, but the generation of lives to come. You, the community, belong here. It's free to all, and we, all of us, welcome you back to your library.
If you haven't guessed, I'm also acting as Master of Ceremonies for this program. And, you know, we've learned it takes a village to save a library, but it also takes a village to build a library, to renovate a library, to extend a library. And our main partner in this work at the City of Boston is the Public Facilities Department. And I am very pleased now to invite to the podium the leader of that organization, representing the Operations Cabinet. We have Director Kerry Griffin.
Thank you, David. I missed the memo about purple. Everyone looks beautiful. I'm actually going to take a page from your book and invite the project team to come up. And Charlie, Tom, Dave, Shwayne, Curtis, you worked on this project just like everyone else. Our architect, Noel. So I want to first obviously thank Mayor Wu for your unwavering support that you give to our projects, our capital budget, and our people. It's awesome to work for you. And this is the team. It's blood, sweat, and tears. Sometimes more tears, but that built this library, designed and built and worked with the community. And most of all, most importantly, you all. We took your feedback and incorporated it into this awesome building. So I just want to thank you first and foremost. And so just to go through the project team, sorry. My PFD, Wayne McKenzie, Clerks of the Works, Pat Doherty, Michael Lynch, Annie Grant, Bridget Nee, Carlton Jones, Deputy Director, I don't see him, Curtis Willis, who did the beautiful mural, our architect firm, Conrad from Conrad Odenello, Noel Murphy, who led the design, and Boston Building and Bridge, who built, Charlie Penta, the owner, Tom and Dave, that we're here every day working on the project. And sorry. So I'm just cutting my speech short here because I know there's a lot of other speakers, but I just want to say as we cut the ribbon today, we look back in gratitude to everyone who has worked to bring this library back to life and look forward to the future where it is going to serve as a dynamic hub for years to come. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Kerry, and the team for being a great partner on this work. We'll now move to hear from the local elected officials. They've all been called out so far. They don't need me to introduce them. So we will begin with Representative Mike Moran.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Wu. I want to start by recognizing somebody that's in the room who fought really hard to get when you lose a library, they're not easy to get back. This happened down in Alston, and our then City Councilor, Brian McLaughlin, who's here today. Brian knows how hard it is to get a library back, and we wouldn't have that one in Alston but for you, Brian. Thank you. You know, it's new. I've been following Michelle a couple of times now, and it was easier in the two previous mayors to follow them. Let that marinate for a second. Also reminds me when I'm in this library, maybe I should have come here a little more often, but but anyways, this April will mark the 14th year when we were standing out in the rally in the park in the middle of Oak Square to save this library. At the time, this neighborhood was at a crucial point because just 6 years previous, the Archdiocese of Boston decided that they were going to close the grammar school, Our Lady of Presentation Grammar School. And now here we are within the same span of 6 years, potentially losing the library. I don't have to tell you what that means for a community to lose a library and a school, but more importantly, those buildings that they're in. We were at the risk of potentially seeing them sold and developed for housing, which we know is important, but libraries and schools are also important. I'm thrilled to say 14 years later that we are here today, and both of those libraries and both of those buildings are open and servicing the people of this community, and that's really something to be happy about. I'm looking through this speech here, and it's kind of long, so I'm going to try and do the same as you did and cut it a little short. But I was here Monday to go around the library, and you know, for us, for people I know, everyone I look in this room, it's a little bit emotional, and my office has an over-under on me showing some emotion here, so I'll try not to, but anyways, because it was so much of a part of growing up here, you know. So when you come in here and you don't see the desk anymore, and you don't see the front door anymore, and you don't see the stage anymore, you know, it's historic. It's emotional. It's part of the nostalgia of this place. But as I was going through the tour and I was seeing the new bathrooms with changing tables, you know, the many more amenities that exist, the kids' room, the teens' room. The bathrooms are no longer in the basement, which is very good. I realized that, you know what, those were memories. And the kids that are going to come in here don't have any of those memories. They're going to make their own. I look at my two little ones back there, and see, now you're going to make them. But they're going to make their own memories, you know, and that's what's great about it. That's what's great about it. And so while some of us, I'm looking on, I see Charlie, I see so many people that stood in the middle of that square, while we're nostalgic about this and we have mixed feelings about this project, remember, it's about the memories that were created here, and that's what's going to continue to happen. So, anyways, hold on. So, Brian, what was the over/under on me showing emotion? When I look back to that day, and when I looked back to that day in April, you know what we said then, and as you saw on the photo, that it was about priorities, and that's what it really is about. It's about priorities of this community, priorities of this neighborhood. We're stuck out here in the most furthest part of the city of Boston, most western part of the city of Boston, surrounded by Newton, Brookline, and Watertown, and sometimes people who live in the city even don't know that this is part of the city. But what they don't know is that doesn't make us unhappy. We don't tell them that, but it's okay. You know, but it was about our priorities and about what this community and what this means to this community and what are our priorities as a community. So when I think about the priorities that we have for this neighborhood, it was clear to me that that fighting for this community and fighting for this neighborhood was the utmost important thing to make sure this didn't close. Because that defines our priorities as a neighborhood, it defines our priorities as a city, it defines our priorities as a state, and I would even go further and say it defines our priorities as a society. what are we saying about ourselves as people, as people in this community, if we go down a path of closing public free libraries? Places where we can enter, anybody can enter, take out a book, learn, explore, meet a lifelong friend. Oh, there's Laureen. Meet a neighbor, educate ourselves on a number of topics. That's what this library meant. That's what it meant to us, and that was that's why we fought so hard to keep it. This community knew what we needed to fight for, and we did. To be certain, as I said, it was a Hail Mary pass, so we were the underdogs in that fight, and we knew it. Charlie Vasiliadis knew it at that rally. We talked about it, that this is going to be an uphill battle, and we knew that. But we continue to fight, and we put an amazing group of people together, and I just want to thank a few of them, starting with the Friends of the Library. That group is just unbelievable. Interestingly enough, they were formed because they tried to close this library in 1988, and that's when the Friends group was formed. They were amazing. They organized the greater Oak Square area. They scheduled rallies. They held fundraisers at the Funky Auction every year. They put email lists together, and they heightened the awareness of every single community member in this neighborhood to know that this library was on the chopping block, and we needed your help. The entire community, I want to thank them, everyone that's here, everyone that's outside, everyone that isn't here. We came out and we spoke with one very, very strong voice, and it was, not this library, not any library, find the money and keep it open. I want to thank the mayors, plural, because I've been here that long, and this took that long. I want to thank former mayor, my friend Tom Menino. After agreeing with the BPL board, after agreeing with the president of the libraries, after we spoke loudly, he reversed course and he kept the libraries open. It is hard for any person in public life sometimes to acknowledge that they may be wrong, and he did that. Thank you, Tom Menino, for doing that. Former Mayor Marty Walsh. Tom Menino set us on that path not to close, and the Mayor Walsh kept us on that path and put funding in place to start this process. And obviously our current mayor, Michelle Wu, Mayor Wu is also a dear friend of mine, but also a dear friend of our community. She always knows that these decisions are priorities, and more often times than not, most times, this community's priorities and her priorities line up very well. Thank you, Mayor. The staff of the BPL and the staff of Faneuil. As I mentioned earlier, this is a building. It's the staff that makes it special, really. It really is. And we know that we have some of the most committed and kind people that work here. Thank you to them. Somebody we didn't thank from earlier, Priscilla Foley, if she's here. Priscilla is in charge of all the branches, but more importantly, she's a friend and she lives here in this neighborhood, and she is raising 3 of her kids. So thank you, Priscilla, for all you do for us. Priscilla told me this morning that the mayor has found some resources to add some staff here, and they added a general librarian position, which means that the library can open now on Saturdays until 5 o'clock, so that's good. I've skipped over a bunch of anecdotal stories because they would take too long, but I have to include at least one of them. And later at the last drop, I'll include more, and they'll be more colorful, I promise, over there. Probably the strangest part of this process, Kevin, myself, City Councilor Breeden, City Councilor Siomo, Senator Steve Tolman, we were all in multiple meetings with staff and with people at the BPL, and probably the strangest, well, 2 people cried in those meetings, which was, I thought, very, very interesting. You know, we were in a meeting, and then Senator Steve Tolman's office, and we were obviously pleading our case with Ann Ryan, who was the president of the library at that time, and we were saying, you know, I know it's small, I know it's in the corner of the city. You know, I know that it needs a lot of improvements, but it's the 4th or 5th most used library in the system. Why would you close that? That just doesn't make sense to me. And we kept just beating the drum, and in the middle of it, she started to cry. she got emotional, much like I did. It was at that point in time that I realized the people who work in the libraries and the people that were in charge of running them didn't want to close them. And what that meeting did for me and for Kevin and for the elected officials was, we knew that it wasn't the libraries that wanted to close. It was coming from probably the 5th floor and City Hall, and we knew we had to put a different strategy in place to make the mayor understand that this was probably not the best choice for him to do. So while Amy Ryan received a lot of arrows from this community at that time, that meeting was instrumental in sort of focusing on where our attention needed to go, and I think it was instrumental, quite frankly, on moving the ball down the field a little. Last, I want to thank my delegation, the Alston-Brighton elected delegation, former Senator Steve Tolman, former City Councilor Mark Siomo, current State Senator Will Brownsberger, current City Councilor Liz Breeden, current State Representative Kevin Honan. I want to thank them because, as I touched on earlier, this was a real fight. In my career that I've been lucky to represent this neighborhood, I've never been behind the 8 ball. We've never been behind the 8 ball like we were on this one. And so that meant that all of us, all of the elected officials from this neighborhood, we were gonna have to have really, really challenging and very tough conversations with some of our friends and some of our colleagues in government. And sometimes at all levels, and sometimes that can be challenging because one minute you're friends and you're working on things and the next minute you're not. So we needed to put our egos aside. We needed to trust in each other, communicate with each other, be clear and have one voice, one clear and concise voice when dealing with this issue. And let me tell you, I'd put those guys in a bunker with me anytime because they did a hell of a job, and just want to thank them. So. All right, that's it. So, I figure you very seldomly see me make any quotes because, that's just not what I do. But I was looking at some quotes today about libraries, and 2 of them jumped out at me, so I'll end with 2 quotes. One that I think is very representative of this neighborhood, and the other one is giving us our marching orders moving forward. The first one is from a professor of education in the University of South Carolina, David Lanks, and he said, quote, "Bad libraries build collections. Good libraries build services. Great libraries build communities." I think when I read that, I felt I don't need to say anything after that. And lastly, and what I think is going to give us our marching orders moving forward, just in the spirit of bipartisanship, I want to quote the 43rd First Lady of the United States, Laura Bush, who incidentally was a librarian. She said, and I quote, "I have found that the most valuable thing in my wallet is my library card." So it's incumbent upon all of us now, if you don't have one, go out and get one right now, right out there, and use this library so we never find ourselves in this position again. Thank you.
I'll now call Representative Kevin Honan to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a tremendous pleasure and honor for me to be here. This is about the biggest crowd we've had in the neighborhood for any celebration. So it's a privilege for me to be here. Mayor Wu, I thank you for your dedication to the education of the residents of our city. You were kind enough on your State of the City address to mention the Oak Square Library, and you're so passionate about this. My dear friend Mike Moran, I want to thank him for his leadership. Obviously, as a child, he came here with his sisters, and now he'll be bringing, with Helena, his 2 wonderful daughters here who share his love for hockey as well. So hopefully they'll come to the library as much as they go to the Warrior Rink. I also want to thank Liz. Before City Council, Liz Breeden was the City Councilor. This was her activism with Ram and Maria and Charlie and so many other people fighting to keep this library open, and Brian McLaughlin. Liz, this is the thing that sparked you, isn't it? This was, yeah, this is saving the library. So, and Will Brownsberger, who may be here later. So I thank all of these electeds, all of the community folks who work together for this transformational renovation of this wonderful gem in our neighborhood. And one of the quotes Mike was talking about was how this is a community thing, and it is. It's where people come to learn, to study, to come together with social events. So it's critical for the Oak Square neighborhood and for all of Brighton and Allston. I would also add this interesting quote. A lot of people don't know this, but our state constitution requires us, as state lawmakers, Mike, to cherish the interests of literature. It's in the state constitution that the members of the legislature have to cherish the interests of literature. The founders knew back then that reading was so important to the well-being of the state that they wrote it into our state constitution. And what better way to continue this tradition and encourage reading and learning than with a beautiful, newly renovated building right here in Oak Square. So even more of a place to learn. This is a place of community resources in every sense of the word. I look forward to seeing children, parents, grandparents, students, and people of all ages and backgrounds come through the doors and take advantage of the great services that are offered here by the wonderful librarians that work here and the wonderful staff. So thank you all for coming. Thank you.
And to the podium, Councillor Liz Braden.
Thank you, everyone. Those guys have taken all the words I had, you know. I think this is an amazing event. I'm so excited to see so many people here and to see so many people queued down the street to try and get in here today. It reminds me of the night in October when we were in the middle of that big fight, and it was a big fight to save this library. And the folks from the BPL were here to listen to the community listening, to hear and listen from the community, and 500 people turned out. And we know there were 500 people because we had 500 stickers and we ran out of stickers. And we had all the local officials had their staff here watching and seeing, and they thought, oh, you know, there might be 50 people who turn up. And then when they saw this line the whole way up Bigelow Street, they started getting on the phone and saying to their boss, the councillor so-and-so, you better get over here. You better get over here. There's something happening in Oak Square. So we did save this wonderful space. And going back to 1988, did you say? In 1988, this library was threatened with closure, and it was down to like 2 half days a week or something. There was massive cuts to the public library budget, and that is when the Friends of the Faneuil Branch Library started. And we have one of the best Friends groups in the whole city. And we have to remember that at the time that this library was, Mayor Menino, they were thinking of closing this library, there was 5 other libraries on the slate at the same time, all ready to be chopped. And through the leadership of the folks in the Faneuil Branch Library and the community organising skills of folks like Maria Rodriguez here, we said to those other groups, hang on a minute, if we all stick together, we can save all of these libraries. And we pretty much did. So I really look forward to getting back into programming again. I will really look forward to coming to funky auctions and 57 readers. One other event that I participated in, there was someone did a kombucha making workshop. And we all came and learned how to make kombucha, and we went home with our scobies and we made kombucha. And then several months later, we all turned back up. We all come back with our bottles of kombucha, and we had a kombucha tasting session. So this is a space where if you have a creative talent and you want to share it with your friends and neighbours as a way to build community, come on down. We're all ready. And that's largely through the welcoming and support, really supportive staff of the Faneuil staff here. Amy and our predecessors, this has always been a welcoming space for everyone. And we really appreciate all the incredible work that you do here for our community and beyond. This is a place to be community and to build community. And I want to thank you all so much. And welcome.
Thank you to all the elected officials who've joined us today, and those who have spoken, those who haven't spoken, and I know there will be a couple more who will be showing up a little bit later. We are so pleased, as you just heard, that as we reopen, we go directly to our expanded Saturday hours, and with only 1 or 2 exceptions at the moment, all of our branches are open 9 to 5 on Saturdays. We must thank the mayor for making this possible through additional funding in our city operating budget. And while we are grateful for the support of our city partners and all our elected officials, it is the staff and community who together will bring this to life, filling branches with their enthusiasm, learning, and joy. We are welcoming a staff that is comprised of both returning staff members and some new to the neighborhood. And I know they are eager to get to this ribbon cutting that we will just do after one more speaker, because it wouldn't be official without an actual ribbon, even though we're already inside. And so to begin the programming, there will be a full day of programming this Saturday with an open house. And in doing this work, the staff will be doing it in partnership with, as you have just heard, one of the strongest Friends groups in the BPL system, the Friends of the Faneuil Branch in Oak Square. And it is now my pleasure to introduce our final speaker, the current leader of the Friends, Anne Mazzola.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know that I was going to have to speak, but just in case, I wrote something down. So thank goodness. This is not my gift is not public speaking, as you'll see. But I'm glad that I am able to speak because I feel like what I wrote down is something that I want to say. First is that, so I'm Annie Mazzola. I'm a lifelong Alston Brighton resident and proud president of the Friends of the Faneuil Library. I'll try to keep it quick. The Friends of the Faneuil Library would like to say what an honor, an absolute honor it is to volunteer for this library, for its incredible staff, and for this community. That's really what we do. I'd like to please give a huge shout out to the Faneuil Branch librarians and staff, we've had a long journey to get here, and you've really, I feel like, a special shout out to Amy Manson-Reese, who was incredibly connected to this community during the closure in so many ways, from freezing her tail off at dozens and dozens of winter markets to helping us learn about bees at the Presentation School Foundation. Just years, really, of working with us friends to get programming and events realized while we were closed. So thank you. Thank you. Yep. We'd also like to say a huge thank you to Clodagh at the Presentation School Foundation and the Oak Square YMCA for opening their doors to us so generously while we were waiting to open. So thank you to them. And thank you just to everyone who made this day possible. And what kind of friend would I be if I didn't invite you over? So if you'd like to be a member of the Friends, please come and see me or one of the wonderful board members around. We all have these badges. We meet most third Tuesday evenings, one per month. Yeah, the third Tuesday. And we'd be happy to tell you all about what we do. And we would love to have all of you. And lastly, I believe that what made the Faneuil Library so special, it was not its four walls, it was the people inside them. It is so beautiful. And it's so beautiful to have people inside of the library once again, and to have the four walls be beautiful too. So thank you.
Thank you all. I apologize that we are running just a little bit behind our original schedule, not just the construction, but the program today. So, but we are here, we are open. We will now proceed to the ribbon cutting. And so I would like the speakers, the trustees, and all of the elected officials to let's meet in front of the dinosaur. And at that point, we will declare the branch officially reopened. Thank you.